So I've had some time since last night to think more about the encounter locks on Oakwynd server. I've read some of the Reddit comments, I've read comments on other videos, and watched a few other videos on people's reactions and opinions to the encountered locks. The biggest question that I've seen is who is that for, and what was the rationale, what was the thought process behind adding encounter locks, or basically why would they want to do something like that. And there are a couple of really good points brought up about it being used as a griefing tool, things that I didn't mention in the first video that do make some sense. For example, what if someone's fighting a named raid boss or is the mob next to you and they die? Does the mob automatically reset, or does the encounter lock make it immune to aggroing players outside of the encounter lock? Like, how is that going to work? And if it works in a fashion where someone's fighting a mob and they die, then the mob just goes back and resets so that it's unlocked, then that means that anybody outside the encounter lock won't be able to get aggro. Basically, right, power leveling in every fashion, as you won't even be able to heal into that group and get aggro. And it also stops that social aspect of the game where, you see someone struggling, you want to help out. Now with encounter locks, you won't be able to do any damage. You won't be able to maybe heal the player that's in the encounter lock. And we're possibly facing, which I hope they clarify, if someone were to die next to you in a locked encounter, and it's not even that they're training a mob onto you, it's that they're specifically stating that mobs cannot take damage from outside sources outside the encounter. So that means you won't be able to mez it, you won't be able to root it, you won't be able to do anything but run away if it aggroes you. And World of Warcraft, when they had their tagging, as they call it, so you could end up killing a mob after someone dies and still not getting credit for it. So it will be interesting to see how they actually plan to implement the encounter lock. And to get to the question that someone asked, who is that intended for? It's intended for power levelers. That's the only rational thing I could see, because there's a lot of downsides and a lot of potentials to griefing. It can't be to prevent kill stealing. On these TLPs, I don't know which ones you've played on Mischief, people are generally pretty friendly. There's not a lot of kill stealing. I don't even know if kill stealing is an actual rule anymore, as long as you're not being chaotic about it. I think that in modern day rules, you're actually allowed to hit or try to out DPS someone that's fighting a mob to get credit for it. If you do more than half the damage, or if you do majority of actual damage to that mob, you'll get the experience and the kill for it. Though guilds back in the day used to DPS race, it didn't matter who pulled it first, whoever did the most DPS, they will get credit for it. But with encounter locking, now it's going to go from people trying to kill steal to people trying to tag steal. Who can hurry up and ninja hit that mob first and pull it? Because if you're able to pull it even solo and run away, you're going to lock it to yourself. And I see that turn into a lot of potential griefing. As someone else said, a single person could just keep hitting raid mobs in the open world, keeping an entire guild that might be formed up from actually being able to do it, because the mob will be locked to them. And it will also allow, say, a smaller force that could do the raid to hurry up and ninja tag a mob that someone else has been waiting for, or someone that's owning the camp for, and to take their time finishing it off because they tagged it first. So instead of kill stealing, we're going to see tag stealing, where people are fighting over it. As I showed in my last video in World of Warcraft, at the start they made it so whoever did damage first got credit for the kill. Where that became a really big problem was when you were doing quests. You had to get credit for killing a quest NPC. And what people would do is you'd see, especially on the server releases or back when the game was popular, you would see like 5 or 6 people gathered up, with traps set and getting ready to attack as the thing spawned, like before it's even registered in view, trying to already get it with traps or trying to hit it, cause some type of damage just to get the mob. And people are fighting over a single mob. And I think that's what this encounter lock is really going to lead to, unless the servers are desolate. Now, I don't think it's to stop kill stealing. It really is designed to stop power leveling. And if you haven't played on a server like Mischief, selling power leveling services is a really big deal, and it's done in rapid speed, like record times. Power leveling I can't even achieve because I don't use the automated scanner stun. There are zones that I've not even gone to because they've been heavily locked down by people doing the enchanter power leveling. And it's been such a problem on Mischief where they, like the Deep, for example, in Luckland, which was what zone they were using the AE power level to get people to max. You can't even go into that zone. There's power levelers fighting with power levelers just to take the zone, because they literally pull the whole zone in 1 or 2 pulls. And at the era that they're starting to AE power level people to the max level using places like the Deep, there's not enough people in that zone or even trying to be in that zone for it to spawn 2 instances. That means there's a single instance of the zone and there's multiple people trying to power level in it, multiple power levelers, not people getting power leveled. So I've noticed that they were kind of had a monopoly on the entire zone on the Mischief server, where they were either designating certain areas or certain times to certain power levelers, and they had like a little monopoly agreement between them where they basically own the zone. So regular players just didn't even go out there. We lost access to an entire zone because of power levelers. Not only that, although the people that are leveling normally are pretty much getting shorted on how fast people are just coming into the game and just power leveling characters. So even at my regular non-enchanter AE stun, I was able to get a max level character, whether that be 1 through 60, 1 through 65, even 1 through 75. It only takes 8 to 12 hours, maybe 16 hours if some of the zones are camped. Well, I'm power leveling. I basically own the zone too, but the way I do power leveling is I power level the smaller levels, and then as soon as my character is high enough level to group with my max level character, say a 40 and a 60 or 39 and 60, or like a 43 and a 65, like as soon as that character makes that minimum level, I'll just put them in a group with my higher levels and level them that way. Power leveling has basically taken like everything out of the leveling process, which depending on which side of the table, it could be good, could be bad. Maybe you don't want to level, maybe it's a second character, maybe it's an alt. But it really made actually leveling kind of pointless because people could get character to max level with a couple chronos. They're paying $10, $20, and those AE power levels are getting it done in like 4 hours sometimes using the experience potions, way faster than even I'm power leveling with a 12 box. But not only are they trying to nerf people like me, they're actually trying to nerf that whole for sale service, control the whole zone. People rapidly leveling to max level without any effort and spending just a bare minimum amount of money and time. And I think that's what they're targeting because it is disruptive to a certain extent. We definitely lost the deep, and in some cases they do that in the hole. So there are certain sections of the hole that you pretty much lose. And I've seen power levelers really go to town in Velk's Lab, a disruptive there. Obviously the ones I do like Polluto Caverns and Soul A, pretty much while you're there power leveling, you own the zone or you're splitting it with another power leveler, but regular people don't really get to play there. And then later on you'll lose places like Grieg's End to some extent. Then Crypt of Decay, power level is like that zone. Plane of Fire. Usually there was enough people in Plane of Fire that even with the power leveling groups in there that you could still usually get a camp if you waited around for a little bit. Plane of Fire gets heavily disrupted. And then as we progress onto like the 70, 75th levels, Ruined City of Draenei is where they go next to do their AE power leveling services. That gets disrupted. And so I think that the real focus here and the real target was the power leveling. It's not that they're frowning upon like power leveling, even like maybe I do it, where it's damage shield power leveling, even though it will heavily nerf that because I use characters out of group to heal, buff, take the aggro, and cause some damage, especially later on. Not only will they be targeting people like me that can power level pretty fast, but definitely power leveling services, spamming chat, people using this to make actual money, selling their chronos. It seems like they're taking a stand against those people. There's not really any reason whatsoever to put the locked encounters on because like I said, instead of kill stealing, you're going to have target stealing, you're going to have counter lock stealing, you're going to have people trying to tag mobs before anybody else. It's not even going to matter if they can actually kill the mob, they might just do it to be disruptive. And then we also have to address what happens when someone in a locked encounter dies and all of a sudden there's a raid mob spawn on you that because it was locked you can't hit. How is that going to work? That's definitely need some more explanation. The locked encounter is to limit the rapid power leveling that's being sold on servers. Let's be honest, they're not doing it legitimately. They're not there pressing stuns on each enchanter. It's most likely automated with something like MacroQuest, or it could be an auto fire setup like I've used for my auto attack. So that's who I believe they're targeting, and I think that's what the purpose of that encounter lock is. I still stand by what I said as of now. With that rule set, Oakwynd has pretty much officially killed power leveling in any modern sense. Could be a good or bad thing. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the encounter lock, and let's get this discussion rolling and get people talking about it before the server goes live. Let's also push for that tradable loot that everybody seems to like, and hopefully we get some clarification on the encounter lock. Thanks for watching.